Hey Team Hot Mess, welcome back to WithGen, the podcast where we grow, glow, and occasionally say fuck while doing it. Today's episode is called Not a Train Track Flower Anymore. And if you're like, what? Don't worry, I'll explain. Someone once told me, okay, my ex did, that I was like a flower on train tracks. She meant it sweetly. You get hit by trains so hard, but you always bounce back. You're strong and beautiful. And honestly, I was flattered, like, aw, thanks, babe. Look at me, resilient and photosynthesizing through trauma. But later, it hit me. Why the hell am I on the tracks in the first place? Who decided that my job in life was to keep dodging locomotives while pretending it's personal growth? So today, we're talking about what it means to leave the tracks and move into the field. The place where you can finally root, bloom, and be your damn self without waiting for the next collision. We'll talk healing, ancestral bullshit, business mindset, boundaries, humor, because let's be real, this is WithGen. This is not a TED Talk in beige tones. So grab your tea, your journal, or that snack you'll regret later, and let's dive in. You know that moment when someone gives you a compliment that accidentally exposes a wound? Yeah, that was mine. When my ex called me a train track flower, it sounded poetic. I imagined a stubborn little bloom poking through gravel, surviving smoke, dust, and danger. And at first, that image made me proud. But later, it made me sad. Because I realized the trains never stopped. Every time I stood back up, another one came roaring through. Work burnout, heartbreak, overgiving, abandonment. And somewhere deep in my lineage, I must have learned to invite those trains. Like my DNA said, we only grow when it hurts. Let me tell you, friends, that belief system is exhausting. See, when you keep proving you can survive, you forget to ask whether you even want that life. I thought resilience was my crown jewel. Turns out it was my full-time job, and it didn't even come with dental. And have you seen how expensive teeth are these days? I'd wake up thinking, okay, new day, new train, let's go. And sure, I look strong, but inside I was tired. Tired of being the one flower show, tired of dodging metal and calling it mindset. That's what survival mode does. It makes chaos feel like home. And the tracks, they're straight. They're predictable. You know a train's coming. It's easier to brace for impact than to walk into a wild field and not know what's next. So yeah, I stayed there. I called it resilience, but it was actually fear in a floral dress. Let's talk about bounce back culture for a second. We glorify it, especially in entrepreneurship. Oh, you failed? Amazing! Get up and go again. Meanwhile, your nervous system is like, man, please, can we just take a nap? I was addicted to bouncing back. It made me feel useful, strong, impressive, but it also burned me the fuck out. And worse, it kept me small. Because when you're always proving your comeback, you just never get to be. I kept thinking I was one lone flower, unique, special, hardworking, not realizing I could become a field, a whole ecosystem. Hell, maybe a wild rosebush. But I didn't know that then. I thought the tracks were my fate. Meanwhile, there was a patch of grass nearby. Small, green whisper saying, hey babe, you could come and grow over here. But I was too busy waving at other people's trains, family, partners, bosses, all that stuff. And I didn't even realize that wasn't my train to catch. So let's name those trains, shall we? Because pretending they're metaphors only gets us so far. For me, the big one was abandonment. That's the deluxe express train. First class and emotional damage. I kept chasing people who clearly didn't have tickets for my journey. They'd shown me time and again that they'd never stay, but I still ran after them, waving my heart like a fucking discount flyer. And that pattern didn't stop at love. It bled into business too. I overgave, over created, over delivered. And guess what? The people who take advantage of your generosity have nosebleed seats on the same train. I poured creativity, time, money, and energy into the wrong people. Every time I thought, this one's different, the train would screech, whistle, and boom, flatten my schedule and spirit. You ever get run over by your own good intentions? Because same. So here's what I learned. You can be the most creative flower on earth, but if you plant yourself on the tracks that belong to someone else, you're just decorating their route to success. So yeah, I was done decorating other people's destinies. Let's get real for a second about ancestral stuff. Because some of you know exactly what I mean when I say that pain didn't start with you. I look back and saw it. Generations of people who believed they had to suffer to be good. They called it duty, responsibility, humility. But really, it was a pattern of self denial disguised as virtue. And because I'm what the internet calls 2E, twice exceptional, a gifted brain with sensitive wiring and a pattern that felt like a curse. My intensity, my ideas, my emotions were always too much. So I dimmed myself. I played dumb. I became the quiet flower who knew too much but said nothing. Growing up with a narc dad meant that I learned early how to read a room, sense danger, and stay visible and invisible when needed to. That hyper awareness became my superpower, but also my super trap. Because when you spend life monitoring other people's weather, you forget to feel your own. So, yeah, I carried ancestral bullshit. The idea that my value came from pain, from fixing, from shrinking. But I'm done with that. It's time to weed the garden, babes. If strength used to mean get hit and survive, what does it mean now? For me, it's trust. Believing in my feet, my breath, the good in people, without letting that goodness blind me to red flags. Now I'm attracting better people because I finally left the station. My energy shifted the moment I stopped auditioning for pain. Strength now means staying rooted when the world tells you to move faster. It's saying no without a 5-slide PowerPoint to justify it. It's taking a nap and calling it a strategy. Because let's be honest, burnout is not a business model and also not a life model. Okay, so that was the flower years, the era of dodging trains and calling it resilience. In the next part, we're going to talk about what happens when you finally walk towards the field, the roots, the thorns, the business of healing. So take a breath, stretch your shoulders, maybe text that friend who needs to hear this, and I'll see you in there after the break. All right, welcome back. If you're wondering why we're talking about horticulture and trauma at the same time, trust me, it will make sense. So, we've survived the trains, now we're walking, limping maybe towards the field, the place where we actually get to become ourselves. And honestly, it's terrifying. Because when you're used to surviving, peace feels like withdrawal. Okay? Let's talk about that. When I picture this field, I see light, space, laughter, naps, coffee, maybe even a disco ball. It's everything the tracks weren't. Unpredictable in the good way. And this is where my roots start to spread. Finally. I always imagined roots meant being stuck, like commitment or routine was a cage. But the roots are actually freedom. They hold you steady while you reach for the wild stuff. And the thorns, those are my new boundaries. I say no when I'm tired. I make jokes when I feel like it. I listen to my intuition even when it makes zero logical sense. Sometimes that means canceling a meeting because my body's like, nope. Sometimes it's ignoring an email that smells like manipulation with a side of gaslighting. Because if your gut says ew, it's a no, even if it's wrapped in a brand collab proposal. Let's talk humor. Because mine used to be pure defense, the elegant art of laughing through tears with a glass of wine. Now it's different. Now I get to be funny, not functional. Humor isn't my armor anymore, it's my paintbrush. When people join my business clubs, they always say the same thing: Jen, you make us feel welcome. And that's because I finally stopped using jokes to hide pain and started using them to create warmth. We forget that play is powerful. The world's already serious enough. If we don't add laughter, the spreadsheets will eat us alive. So, yeah, humor is part of my healing and my branding because nothing says emotional intelligence like cracking a joke about your trauma mid Zoom. Seriously though, laughter is nervous system regulation. It's free, it's medicine, and it looks great on your marketing reels, okay? Here's where mental health and entrepreneurship do their weird tango. When I was still that train track flower and my business looked exactly like my attachment style, anxious, overgiving, desperate for validation, I'd say yes to every collaboration, every client, every quick favor. I thought saying yes meant growth, but it actually meant depletion. And if you're listening to this whole while multitasking, maybe editing a post, cooking dinner, mentally flogging yourself for not doing enough, listen up. You cannot build sustainable business from adrenaline. You just can't. You need roots, not reactions. The moment I stopped chasing, everything shifted. Better clients, calmer launches, actual weekends. I left the scarcity station and stepped into what I call the field of enoughness. In business terms, it's when you stop running Facebook ads for your self-worth. But truly, the energy of enough magnetizes. People can feel when you've stopped performing survival. Your audience doesn't want perfection, they want resonance. They want to see a human with a messy hairstyle who still shows up. So here's my business advice, straight from the flower formerly known as Doormat Deluxe. 1. Audit your trains. Anything that runs you over emotionally, financially, spiritually. 2. Choose one to walk away from this month. Replace it with one patch of grass, one small thing that feels like freedom. That's how roots form. Okay, your turn. Ask yourself, what are your trains? What or who do you keep waiting for? What patch of grass nearby could you focus on instead? Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's finally charging your worth. Maybe it's sending the damn invoice. Whatever it is, start small. Focus grows what you feed it. Because, listen, your roots already know where to go. You just have to stop standing and landing on steel. And you know what nobody tells you? Leaving the tracks is lonely at first. All the other flowers are like, wait, you're just gonna leave? But the next train might have water. And you're like, yeah, or it might have existential dread, Susan. So you walk. And your old coping friends, like perfectionism, overthinking, chaos, they scream, come back, we got metrics. But keep walking, keep walking. You're not lazy for wanting softness. You're not unambitious for choosing regulation over revenue. You're just evolving. And evolution looks like a nervous breakdown until it doesn't. When you finally step into the field, you realize something wild. Peace was never boring. You were just addicted to adrenaline. And that's when the real work starts. Not to survive, but to live. Take a breath. You've earned it. Next, we're wrapping it all up. The rosebush era, the thorns, the final pep talk, and the fuck yeah affirmation for your next chapter. Ready to bloom? Alright, Team Hot Mess. We've survived the tracks, walked the awkward in between, and now, welcome to the field. But this isn't just any field. This is where I become a rosebush. And for you could be any other flower. Someone once told me I was a flower on the tracks. Now, I'm the entire damn bush. gorgeous, grounded, full of love, and yes, covered in thorns. Thorns aren't punishment, they're protection. They say, you can admire me, but you can't misuse me. That's my boundaries, baby. But make it botanical. I used to think setting boundaries meant being mean. Now I see it's just emotional fencing. Keep the rabbits of bullshit out so you can grow fruit. Every no I say fertilizes something even better. Every not today waters my sanity. So if you're listening and still apologizing for your limits, stop it. You're not fragile, you're focused. Also, let's be honest, roses with no thorns get eaten by deer. Here's where the metaphor meets the marketing plan. Building a business is like gardening. Everyone's obsessed with a blooming, followers, funnels, six-figure flower fields, but no one talks about the actual soil. So here's a quick check-in for your inner CEO. Are you overwatering? Too many offers? You don't have enough rest? Are you under sunlighting? Hiding your brilliance out of fear of judgment? Because me. Are you letting weeds stay? Clients or projects that drain you, basically. Healthy ecosystems self-prune, and so should you. And if anyone calls that selfish, remind them that thriving plants share oxygen. You can't photosynthesize if you're dead inside. And let's put that on a mug. Leaving survival mode doesn't mean you never struggle again. It just means struggle isn't your address anymore. Some days I still crave the chaos. It's familiar. I'll open my laptop at midnight thinking, what if I just quickly rebuilt my website? And then I have to parent myself. Close a tab and go to bed. Peace is productive too. Because that's the real discipline. Choosing regulation over reactivity. You can't manifest abundance with a fried nervous system, okay? If you need a mantra, here's mine and you can use it. Feel free. Nothing good grows from panic, okay? Nothing good grows from panic, and that's just the truth. So ask yourself, what does calm success look like for me? And how would my business feel if my body actually trusted me? What would I create if I stopped performing resilience and started living in it? All right, time to anchor this in. Repeat after me, out loud if you can. Yes, even if you're in public, own it. Let's go. I'm not a flower on the tracks anymore. I don't wait for impact to prove that I'm strong. My peace is my proof. My boundaries are beautiful. I bloom where I choose, not where I'm thrown. My humor heals. My work matters. My rest is revolutionary. And fuck, I'm proud of how far I've come. And you can just scroll back and just repeat it for yourself. So, there. Doesn't that feel better than rise and grind? If you're still on the tracks, peeking over, looking for that patch of grass, listen. Pop up your head slowly. Look around slowly. There's always a field nearby. It might be tiny, scrappy, uneven, but it's yours. Focus on that patch because what you focus on grows. Your roots will find their way, little by little. You don't need a full relocation plan. You just need one step off the steel. Baby steps count. Baby roots too. And if you get scared, because you will, remember this. The field isn't asking you to be perfect. It's just asking you to stay. Sometimes I imagine all my past selves, the exhausted flower versions, waving from the tracks, and they're like, look at her, she made it. And I yell back, yeah, but you had great hair. And you know, I love those versions of me. They built the resilience that now supports my peace, but they don't run the garden anymore. So if you see me out there metaphorically pruning my schedule, literally talking to my plans, just know that I'm not being dramatic, I'm being deliberate. Because thriving is a business plan now, and joy is the KPI. Okay, look, you can't stop every train. Life will still throw deadlines, heartbreak, random algorithm updates, but you can choose where you stand. And when you root in the field, your field, something shifts. Opportunities start to grow naturally. People treat you differently. You laugh easier. You breathe deeper. You start to look forward instead of bracing. That's what this whole episode is about. It's about finally letting your nervous system know we're safe now. We're home. So here's to no longer mistaking impact for intimacy, chaos for purpose, and pain for proof of worth. Here's to fields full of rose bushes, gorgeous, grounded, unapologetically alive. And here's to you, my friend, for listening, for healing, for still believing that love and business can both be soft and strong. If this episode hit you right in the petals, share it. Tag me, send it to your fellow train track flowers, or play it on repeat until your neighbors start growing too. You're doing great. Keep rooting and keep laughing. And remember, we don't do beige healing around here. See you next time on WithGen. Have a great one. Mwah.